So we're seeing it in bookstores that are choosing not to stock books because there are like a small number of loud customers complaining. And we're seeing it in the digital space where you can no longer, where there's this threat that they will take down your content or keep your money and stop this sale of romance books. And so it's like you can't use your American dollar that's supposed to be free,
Yeah,
to buy whatever the heck you want as an adult from
yeah.
another consenting adult.
The one single promise of capitalism that we were all supposed to like cling to, yeah, there's a lot of faults with it, but at least you get to buy yourself a nice little treat once in a while. Well, not if, granddaddy MasterCard doesn't like the little treat you picked out for yourself, I guess, which is just bonkers to me. Absolutely bonkers. But yeah, I think it speaks to a shift in the broader culture as we see like fascism creeping into so much of our everyday life where before we could just kind of ignore it. It's very difficult to ignore now. And people who feel emboldened by that, I think are, rubbing their little hands together and saying, now is the time that for me to leap forward and say, like, well, it's porn and you're probably some sort of pervert who should be in jail if you disagree with me, because they know that there are very little people in a position of authority willing to stand against that kind of sentiment right now.
Right.
Most people in positions of power right now are, in fact, encouraging that kind of sentiment. So, yeah, yep.
Do you have any thoughts while those people are rubbing their hands together with glee? What can the rest of us who still want to be able to purchase whatever the heck we want to purchase and who want to create whatever the heck we want to create and have the freedom to sell them to each other? Do you have any ideas for how we can stand up against this?
I mean, I think that it is important for romance readers, especially, to be looking into ways to support creators who are affected by this. These folks are still selling their material or trying to. A lot of them are using things like PayHip to try and take a little bit more of the power on themselves, creating their own websites where they can sell their own books so that they can't, so that they hopefully will not wake up one day and be told like, "Oh, you're removed from my store." That's one thing that people can do if the, voting with your dollar appeals. Another thing is that I just have like a beautiful vision of just an army of aunts and grandmothers, getting angry and calling up Visa and MasterCard every day to say, now I just heard, and, giving them peace of their mind. Because right now, the people who I think are the loudest complaints about these issues are the people that it affects, queer people and trans people, people who are making adult content for adults. And unfortunately, we are very often brushed aside as like, well, you're just a very vocal minority. We're going to listen to the other vocal minority
Yeah,
that,
that 100 people in Australia.
yeah, we'll listen to the 100 people in Australia instead of the, 10,000 trans people who are really mad about this, because like you're just a bunch of perverts that we can ignore without any consequence, really. But I think it's when they realize that, oh, the people who do care about this stuff are, you know, the grandmas who are going to their grandkids' soccer game, and the ladies who are going to church every Sunday. If they are able to even just one time stand up and make a phone call or an email to say like, hey, I think what you're doing is trash and I demand an answer, or else I'm going to cancel my credit card and just go cash from now on, baby. I am loving a cash lifestyle these days, honestly. I don't need anybody knowing what I'm doing these days
Yes.
if I can help it. And of course, that's inconvenient and not feasible for every part of my life. But I it's getting to the point where, what can you do but just like beg other people to get on board with you, is how I feel pretty much every day.
Right. Well, I think, On average, I have at least 150 people listening to this podcast. That's more than 100 people calling Visa right now. So, everybody listening to this, if we all just make a call to Visa and MasterCard, a lot of us probably have both. We're customers. We have a right to call. And even if you're not a customer, you have a right to call and just say, hey, stop. And also stop into bookstores, Barnes and Noble, your local bookstore, wherever you get books, and ask for TJ's book and ask for other queer books or books that you think should be there. Because if there are people stopping in to complain about them, we need to stop in to say, hey, we're going to spend our money on this. Why don't you stock it?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also it's important, in addition to purchasing from indie creators, it's important to follow wherever you're going to follow them, social media, newsletter, wherever they're available, because that's how I found out this was going on was Authors Against Book Bans. People were talking about it. Like there's not a mainstream news source that is saying, guys, our books, they're
Yeah.
endangered.
Yeah, which is wild, but that's part of the whole collapse. The whole collapse of our institutions. The media arm of it was an early one to go, I think, unfortunately. So, I mean, along those lines, yes, please follow authors that you like on social media. But please, please, please subscribe to their newsletters or check out their websites regularly, because unfortunately there are dangers that like we will not be on those social media platforms going forward.
For
There are a
many
lot of
reasons.
reasons. Yeah, for a lot of reasons. I just don't want to be on Instagram. I'll be honest. Like the minute that I can get out of there without feeling too bad about it, I will. But yeah, if this censorship continues, then it's going to mean that more and more of our voices are going to be erased from those spaces. So please try as best you can to follow these authors and these artists that you like wherever they are controlling as much as they can the flow of communication. And again, it's not perfect. You never know what might happen with a newsletter server or whatever, but at least it's a little safer than trusting, the Meta corporation.